Looks pretty creepy. I'd been away from Paris and hadn't seen Nicole for nearly 6 months. I wanted to celebrate our reunion, but she had other plans. An appointment with an archaeologist. Something to do with a Mayan stone she came across while researching the story. The guy who answered the door didn't look much like an archaeologist to me. I had a bad feeling about this. There were only 3 things I didn't like about spiders. The way they looked, the way they moved, and the fact that they lived on the same planet as me. This spider was big, mean, and hairy, and definitely not a native of Europe. I glanced over the books, vaguely hoping to find a copy of How to Deal with Poisonous Spiders While Tied to a Chair. No such luck. But I noticed one corner of the bookcase was supported by a loose block of wood. The block of wood had been used to replace the original foot of the bookcase. Maybe I'd been a little heavy-handed, but it was a question of survival. Of course, I was still tied to a chair in a burning house with no means of escape. The bookcase had been anchored to the wall by a protruding metal bracket. It had sheared off as the bookcase had fallen, leaving a jagged edge. With one mighty bound, our hero was free. Now, I had to deal with that fire. It was the chair I'd been tied to. The rope was shredded and no possible use to me. Yellow pus was seeping from below the bookcase. That spider was very squashed. Even if I had the time, I wouldn't be able to get to the books beneath the heavy case. Ubier and his wife, I guess. Nice couple. It was an oddly designed candle holder with a coil of metal shaped like a snake. The bureau had a sliding lid. Inside, I found a bottle of tequila. It was a half bottle of extra strong Mexican tequila. Just what I needed under the circumstances. Normally, I didn't drink strong spirits, but today was far from normal. Ew. Disgusting. Not only did the tequila burn like hell, I just managed to stop myself from swallowing the worm. What looked like a little shriveled wiener lay on the carpet. Thankfully, it was only the worm from the tequila bottle. Well, I wasn't going to eat it, but life had taught me one thing. No matter how unlikely it seems, the strangest objects have their uses. Even tequila worms. It was a closed drawer. In the drawer was a small decorated pot. The pot contained a key. It was Nico's bag. It was a stylish little canvas number containing a lipstick, a handwritten note, and a pair of nylon panties with a large love heart emblazoned across the front. It occurred to me that Nico's tastes must have really changed while I was away. Well, they could be useful. I guess I had no business reading the note, but I figured it might give me a clue to what Nico was involved in. It was from André Labanau, the history student Nico had known at college. The letter was sentimental mush, and revealed that the exotic lingerie, as he called it, was a gift from him. It gave his telephone number. Labanau figured himself as a rival for Nico's affections, but I couldn't believe that that creep was in the running. It was a needle-sharp dart with a flight of green and yellow feathers. That dart was sharper than a mosquito's business end, but this didn't deter me from getting it anyway. The bars attached to the window would prevent anyone getting in. They also stopped me from getting out. This window had bars too. The room was a prison. It was the box that spider had crawled from. It was a soda fountain, perfect for mixing with drinks or squirting at clowns. In the cabinet's wooden door was a very small keyhole. The fire had taken hold and ignited part of the polished wooden floorboards. The door blocked my only means of escape. As I released the lock, something blew the doors open. It was a small cylinder which seemed to have exploded. It was a small metal cylinder. That cylinder was hot. I couldn't pick it up with my bare hands. The panties I'd found in Nico's bag were just what I needed to wrap around the hot cylinder. The cylinder gave out a faint hiss as the valve opened. Now I had one primed up and ready to use extinguisher. With a well-aimed squirt of his soda fountain, our unshakable hero saved the day. Now it was time to start looking for Nico. I wasn't going to burn myself on that red-hot doorknob, and it wasn't the time for subtlety. It was a folded clipping taken from a newspaper. I'd found a piece of newspaper folded in two. It referred to a forthcoming eclipse of the sun. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be visible from Europe. The best place to view the eclipse would be Mexico. It was the newspaper clipping referring to the imminent eclipse. Wrapped inside it was another small piece of paper. It was a bank statement for Houbier's account from an automatic telling machine. The last 5 withdrawals were for large amounts, and all made in Marseille. It was Houbier's bank statement. It was Houbier's telephone. Much as I disliked him, Labinot might be my only hope of finding Nico. Hi, Andre?
Who is this?
It's George Stobbart, Nico's boyfriend.
Don't you mean ex-boyfriend?
Look, I didn't call you just to pick a fight. I need to talk to you about Nico.
Can't you accept she's just not interested in you?
Listen, Andre, we need to talk. Nico's life depends on it.
Okay. You remember the cafe at Montfaucon?
Sure. Andre? You'd better show, you creep. I felt an irrational urge to wipe my ear. The door led to some other part of Houbier's mansion. The front door was made of hard wood, supported by a sturdy frame. I unlocked the door. I wasn't looking forward to meeting Labinot again, but he was my only link with Nico. There was no sign of Labinot when I got to the cafe. I decided to order a coffee and wait for him. Oh, garçon? He ignored me. I'm sure it was deliberate. The man at the next table looked somehow familiar. It was a small silver flask from which the man was topping up his glass. It was too hot to sit inside the cafe. Besides, I might miss Labinot. Hey, you.
Quoi?
I'd like a cup of coffee if you don't mind.
When I finish serving this gentleman. Un café.
Thanks. What does that guy keep pouring out of his flask?
Absinthe.
Absinthe? I thought that was highly dangerous and outlawed in France.
It is. Don't look at me, I didn't sell it to him.
Do you know a guy called Andre Labinot?
Oui, I know him. What of it?
I'm supposed to meet him here. Did I miss him?
No, I have not seen him today.
Have you heard of Professor Houbier?
Oui. He married that actress, the little dachshund. They used to come here, the nutty professor and the movie star.
If Houbier's wife was a movie star, how come I never heard of her?
She was big in France. The world doesn't stop at Hollywood. Her stage name was Carol Climax. She died in suspicious circumstances.
How did Houbier's wife die?
I heard he shot her.
And got away with it?
He had a good lawyer and a watertight alibi.
Why would an eminent public figure like Houbier risk everything for murder?
He wouldn't be the first, would he? Besides, people like him always get off.
Do you know that man over there?
I should think so. He's a regular customer.
Who is he?
A man with a secret. He used to be a cop.
Of course. I'd met the gendarme in this very cafe.
He was kicked out of the force a few months ago. Since then, he's been drinking himself stupid. His liver must look like the last pickle in the jar.
Look at this. A poisoned dart.
Ah oui. Sure.
It's the real thing. Knocked my girlfriend out cold in a matter of seconds.
Romantic. Sounds like a real close relationship you have going.
That's all.
Thank you.
Well, this is a surprise, Georgie.
I wouldn't normally call you. But Nico's in trouble, Andre. Deep trouble. You have to help me find her.
What? What have you dragged her into this time?
It was you that recommended Professor Oubier as an expert on Mayan art. Now his butler has kidnapped her, and he tried to kill me.
Every time she gets involved with you, there is trouble. Walking out on her was the best thing you could do.
My father was dying, damn it. I had no choice.
Well, she soon recovered once she went back to her old friends.
Drop it, Andre. Right now, Nico's in danger, and we have to work together.
So, how can I help?
Nico needed to speak to Oubier about a stone.
Oh, you mean this stone?
So that's what all the trouble's about.
Precisely. Nicole told me to guard it with my life.
Well, it's worth more than that, surely.
Oh, very funny.
What's funny is that your life really is on the line.
What are you talking about?
The stone is a Mayan artifact, dummy, and the guy who kidnapped Nico was from Central America. It was the stone they were after.
Oh my god, you mean I could be in danger too?
What do you suppose the carving on the stone means?
I don't know. I haven't shown it to anyone.
Why don't you just give it to me?
I don't want your death on my conscience, George.
Where did Nico get the stone?
It was sent to her.
From where? Who?
I'm not sure I should tell you.
Oh, you should.
It was something to do with smuggling.
Why didn't Nico take the stone to Oubier?
I don't know. Perhaps she suspected something like this would happen.
If she's been hurt, Andre, I'll break every bone in your body.
No, that's typical of you. Do you think I don't care what happens to Nicole?
It occurred to me that slugs don't have bones to break, but I kept that thought to myself. Tell me about your friend Oubier.
He's more of a professional acquaintance than a friend.
I see. So you don't really know him at all?
No, I don't.
Does Oubier employ a guy from Central America?
Maybe. I don't know.
What do you think this is, Andre?
I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. It's got more backbone than you.
You think you're amusing, don't you?
What can you tell me about this pot?
South or Central American, I'd say. I have a friend who'd be able to tell you more.
Where can I find this guy?
He owns a gallery on the left bank, the Gliese Gallery.
Take a look at this, Andre.
It's a bank statement.
Yeah, Professor Oubier's account. 5 large cash withdrawals in the space of 3 days, all from an automatic teller in Marseille. Suspicious, isn't it?
You're even more crazy than you were before.
See you later.
Goodbye, Georgie.
I've had enough of your games, Collard. Tell me what you've done with my stone.
I thought your business was simply smuggling cocaine, Karzak. Why are you so interested in that stone?
Either you tell me what I want to know, or Pablo here will make you talk.
Okay. Well, I figured someone at the university would be able to help. So I had a word with one of my girlfriends, and she told me her boyfriend was a lecturer. I sent the stone to the Department of Ethnology. You know, I figured it was South American, so... You're not buying this, are you?
That's enough! I don't have time to listen to your mindless prattle. We'll leave you to think it over. Come the morning, you'll be ready to talk.
Pardon me, but don't I know you?
Huh?
You were here the day I found the catacombs.
I was? Ah, yes, I remember you.
Yeah. Are you still in the police force?
No, not anymore. I'm a man of leisure. And what brings you back to Paris?
My girlfriend.
What it is to be young and in love. Will you share a bottle of wine with me?
Hey, listen, I'd love to, but I need to keep a clear head.
So my company isn't good enough for you.
Why did you leave the police?
I was forced to retire. The golden handshake. Only in my case, it was more copper than gold.
How come?
I was made a scapegoat to cover up the department's inefficiencies.
Do you miss being a gendarme?
Yes, of course I do. When I wore that uniform, I commanded respect. Not anymore.
I grabbed the flask and was struck by a powerful smell of absinthe, a highly potent and illegal alcoholic drink. Now I had another lead. I could either go back to Hubier's house or visit the Glees Gallery. The Glees Gallery had style and class, but very few customers. The wasteland. Too minimalistic for too much money. I couldn't believe it. The pots were marked at 5,000 francs each. As far as I could tell, the pots were almost identical to the one I'd found in Hubier's house. The girls were in a world of their own. Hi, girls. What's the joke?
あなたはキレてですね。
Okay, fine. Looked like a witch and a headless bust. I had seen better. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive. Rectangles in a desolate landscape, highly cubist. Spheres in a barren waste. Oh, very profound. I could see a pattern emerging in this artist's work. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive. He looked like an older version of Labano, the same supercilious expression, the same disdain in his eyes, and the same damned ponytail. He was a pear-shaped guy with a fine display of multiple chins. Are you Mr. Glees, the owner?
Yes, sir. May I help you?
You're English?
These days one prefers to think of oneself as European.
Sure. Whatever you say.
And how precisely may one assist you, sir?
What I really wanted to ask you about was a black stone.
A black stone?
Yeah, it's a Mayan artifact, about as big as my hand.
No, sir, one doesn't get much call for black stones. If it's Mayan artifacts you're interested in, I have some rather exquisite pots.
Yeah, I noticed. I've already got one of those. Who's that guy over there?
That's Mr. Lane, sir, the critic. I'm hoping he'll give the gallery a favorable write-up. One has to be so patient with these critics. Lure them in with the correct bait, watch for a bite, then play them like a fish.
Well, he's certainly drinking like one. Have you heard of Professor Hubier?
Of course. His name is synonymous with Mayan art. A number of these artifacts were supplied by Hubier himself.
Do you believe the story that Hubier murdered his wife?
If it was true, who can blame him? She was an opportunist tramp. Well, that's what I heard.
Have you seen any of Hubier's wife's films?
Only one. Believe me, I was appalled, shocked, disgusted, and repulsed.
Well, you sure got your money's worth. Last time I went to the movies, I wasn't even titillated. I suppose you have an import license for these relics?
Of course. But that's not my problem, sir. The professor arranges all the shipping. We simply collect the items from the docks.
Could you tell me which docks Professor Oubier uses to import the artifacts?
Good God, no. I can't possibly reveal my commercial secrets.
Do you get many Central American Indians in here?
No, sir. This is Paris. Central America is several thousand kilometers southwest of here. Straight across the Atlantic Ocean and turn left. You can't miss it.
Well, as it happens, I saw some Central American Indians this very morning.
Tourists, sir. Paris is full of them at this time of year.
I have some questions I'd like to ask about those pots.
The Mexican collection? Certainly, sir.
Where did you get them from?
Mexico, of course. I think sir will find the price extremely reasonable.
Hey, I'm not interested in buying them.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, you'll excuse me.
I found this news story referring to a total eclipse of the sun.
Really, sir? Well, fascinating.
I'd like your opinion on this pot.
Interesting. Would sir be interested in selling the article?
That depends. How much would you give me for it?
300? Possible 325?
What? Those other pots are priced at 5,000 francs each.
Yes, but this is clearly the work of an inferior, degenerated culture.
You mean it's English?
Look, why don't you get a second opinion?
From who?
Mr. Lane, the world-renowned art critic and collector.
He's an art critic? I thought there was a carnival in town. You're Lane, the critic, aren't you?
Correct. Can't you see I'm busy?
Busy? Doing what?
Appreciating the art. Or depreciating it. I have a reputation to uphold.
I could tell this guy was going to be hard work. Have you heard of Professor Oubier?
Yes, of course.
I was at his house earlier.
If you're going to drop names, you could at least name one worth dropping.
I thought Oubier was a well-respected man.
Why, his last book was nothing but pseudo-intellectual claptrap. The demented ramblings of a drug-dependent has-been.
What's that you're drinking?
I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion it might be urine. Glees can't expect a favorable criticism of his gallery when he serves this muck.
Would you give me your opinion on this pot, sir?
Yes, very rapouche.
Rapouche?
Hideous.
What the hell do you think you're doing? What's the difference between my pot and all those other pots?
Yours is broken.
Why, you smug, pompous sloth.
Sticks and stones, dear boy, sticks and stones.
You smashed my pot.
Certainly, it was not only worthless, it was ugly and offensive.
To you, maybe.
Believe me, I was doing you a favor.
I wasn't going to waste any more breath talking to that pompous blimp. Maybe I could turn the situation to my advantage, and at the same time, get my revenge. The glass was half full of wine. I splashed a little absinthe into the glass and hoped he wouldn't notice the change of color.
Did you put something in my drink?
Yeah, I did. Well, what do you think?
Well, it's certainly an improvement over Glees's wine. In fact, I could grow to like it.
Allow me. Fragments of priceless pots lay shattered on the floor. Glees wasn't happy, I could tell. Were those pots very valuable?
The pots are insured, but not the shelving. You've no idea how much that cost me.
Glees wasn't happy, I could tell.
Go away.
A valuable relic of an ancient civilization lay smashed on the floor. It was a machine for reading credit cards. It was a sturdy packing case. There was nothing in the case but styrofoam packing, but pasted on the side was the remains of a label. It was a label bearing a company name and logo. Underneath the logo of a flying bird were the words Condor Transglobal Mars. The rest of the label was missing. It was beginning to make sense. Oubier had organized Nico's abduction. Oubier withdrew money from Marseille. Oubier was connected with Transglobal, who shipped their goods from a warehouse in Marseille. That's how the torn Transglobal label had once read. Marseille, not Mars. It wasn't much of a lead, but it was all I had. I set off immediately to catch the evening train. It was almost dawn when I arrived in Marseille. I traced Condor Transglobal to a desolate dockside. A chain-link fence barred the entrance to the docks. There was a glow of light at the window of the hut. It was a mean-looking guard dog. The watchman was big and bulgy, like a sack of potatoes. His flushed and bloated face wore a sleepy, amiable expression. It was a box of blank forms. The chimney was a metal pipe with a conical hat on top to stop the rain getting in. Ouch! That's hot! A short stick of wood floated near the edge of the landing stage. The stick had a hook on one end. I figured it was a boat hook for hooking boats. It was the label I'd found in the Glees gallery. Bobbing up and down in the oily water was the watchman's discarded beer bottle. I just knew that boat hook would be useful for something. As for the bottle, even if I couldn't find a use for it, I'd cleaned up the dock a little. The platform was held up by a hinged bracket. I couldn't figure out what it was for. Maybe it was part of a structure which no longer existed. The guard dog was staring at me with a hungry look in his eyes. The bottle was half filled with water. Maybe it would cool the cone down enough to touch it. Now I could see into the pipe which formed the chimney. The bottle had blocked the chimney, and the hut was filling up with smoke. It was a packet with a picture of a boxer dog on the front. The packet was full of dog biscuits. It was a filthy, stained coffee mug. It was an old, blackened kettle. It was an old iron stove, which heated the hut and the watchman's dinner. The saucepan was 3/4 full of baked beans. Baked beans in ketchup. It was a large bucket filled with coal. Someone had once told me a piece of coal brought you luck. Who was I to argue with irrational superstition? It was the box of biscuits I'd taken from the watchman's hut. Gourmet dog, the snack your dog would bake himself. Sure, as if I'd let a stupid dog loose in the kitchen. There was a cute picture of a boxer dog wearing oven mittens. Here, boy, have a nice crunchy biscuit. Here, boy, have a nice crunchy biscuit. I felt a slight twinge of conscience as I prepared to give the dog a dunking. It soon passed. As I'd expected, the dog could swim like a dog. The gates were fastened with a heavy-duty padlock. The doors looked 100 years old, but they were still very sturdy. It was a beautiful piece of 19th century engineering, but not a lot of use to me. It read Pont de Nord, fine wine producers. I didn't recognize the label. The clamp was held in a mechanism which forced its jaws open. The doors looked 100 years old, but they were still very sturdy. It read Condor Transglobal. I'd come to the right place. Now all I had to do was get inside. That door seemed to be the only way into the warehouse. There was a little grill set into the door. The grill opened from the inside. The din must have drowned out the sound of my knocking. Maybe there was a way in up there. It was a duct from a ventilation fan. The window looked like it hadn't been opened for many years. The clamp consisted of 2 metal jaws which would close when weight was applied to them. A fine old oak barrel. The window wasn't fully shut. It was the creep who'd kidnapped Nico, and I had a score to settle. The guy was partly hidden behind a stack of crates. It was a powerful fan. That did the trick. The fan clunked and shorted out as its blades were mashed by the boat hook.
Hey! Make any more noise, I break your arms.
That bully needed to be taught a lesson.
Garzak's already mad because we didn't get the stone. You give me any trouble, I'll tell him it was all your fault.
Karzak? That must be his boss.
Who is it?
Is this Condor Transglobal?
Nobody here. Go away.
I'll give you 5 seconds to let me in, or I'll bust down the door.
Okay. I'm coming.
He didn't sound too happy. There was a notice board beside the desk with an assortment of paperwork on it. There was a small drawer in the desk. Knowing my luck, it was bound to be locked. The only interesting thing I found was a small brass key. Among the paperwork which adorned the notice board was something which caught my eye. It was a delivery note from Condor Transglobal, and the address was Coromante City. A filing cabinet. The room was filled with Transglobal crates. Whoa! Don't shoot! The little guy had a blowpipe. That confirmed my suspicions about what had happened to Nico. I waited for him to shoot me, but it didn't happen. Instead, he seemed to want to tell me something. What? What do you want? He seemed excited, almost desperate. What did he want so bad? The guy was partly hidden behind a stack of crates. Hi, I'm not going to hurt you.
Quaramonte!
Is that where you're from? Coromante City?
Quaramonte!
Okay. What have you done with my girlfriend?
Huh?
I am not leaving without her. Where is she? He didn't appear to understand me. Tell me what you've done with Nico, and I'll share these biscuits with you. I knew it sounded lame, trying to bargain with a box of doggy snacks. Besides, how was he to know how yummy they tasted? Do you know what this is?
Peito. Lotseka peito. Hinyakot lagoino mutu.
This was the dart you used to knock out my girlfriend. If she's come to any harm, I will count you personally responsible.
Lotseka peito fnor.
What does this key unlock?
Huh?
Hey, you're manacled. Who did this? That big thug? I'm gonna set you free, okay? Hey, come back here! The little guy had gone to ground amongst the stack of crates. It was the button to call the elevator. It was an elevator to the upper floor. Just in time. Interrupting the beam of light kept the doors from closing and stopped anyone from using the elevator. But what now? It was a device to prevent the elevator doors closing when they were obstructed. There. That would keep the doors from closing. The crate bore the familiar logo of Condor Transglobal, but no clues to its contents. An unmarked switch. Tempting. It was the elevator call button. The crate was labeled, "Danger. Live contents. Do not drop." There were small holes in the top and sides, and scratchy noises coming from inside. It was a large crate, with no label. It was a hydraulic hand cart. The statue looked as if it was Central or South American in origin. It was a hydraulic hand cart. It was a pulley attached to a long rail which ran the length of the building. It wasn't much use, though. No rope. The window was not designed to open. I realized the doors must lead to a loading platform high above the dockside. I noticed a faint mark on the wooden floor. There was an arc-shaped scratch on the floor, as if a door had been opened in the nearby wall. There didn't appear to be any difference in the paneling of this part of the wall. My fingers traced the outline of a secret door in the wall. Then I found a small round stud, which was set flush to the surrounding wooden paneling. Just as I'd hoped, a secret room. Nico! Nico was trussed up like a chicken, but she didn't appear to be harmed. Hold still. This might hurt a little.
Ow!
Think yourself lucky you don't have a mustache.
Thank God it's you, George. How did you find me?
I'll explain later. We have to get out of here.
Where's Pablo, the big guy?
Out cold. Too much wine doesn't agree with him. Are you okay?
Of course I'm not okay. Untie me this instant.
That look in her eyes told me I'd better get those ropes untied, and fast. It was a short length of rope tied tightly around Nico's slim wrists. There. How you feeling?
Oh, thanks, George. How on earth did you find me?
I knew Oubier had been in Marseille. But never mind about me. How about you tell me exactly what's going on, starting with that Mayan stone?
I picked it up from one of Karzak's men in Paris. I was expecting a consignment of narcotics.
Drugs?
Yes. The proof I needed to expose Karzak's smuggling operation. I'd set it up to act as his courier, and once I had the proof, I planned to go straight to Inspector Mou. But instead of the dope I'd expected, they sent me that stone instead. And to find out more, I called Professor Oubier, who invited me to his mansion. At least, I thought it was Oubier.
I don't get it. If Karzak's business is drugs, why is he so desperate to get his hands on that stone?
Maybe it has some significance to the local people in Central America. It could be Karzak's means of getting them to work for him. Anyway, we've got to get out of here.
Nico, wait! It was a grotesque little statue of a figure carrying a shield and a spear. It was a flint carving of a grotesque figure with large, evil eyes. We can't use the elevator. If that thug Pablo's recovered, he'll be waiting for us.
We've got to do something. Where does that door lead to?
I'm not sure. Nico looked well considering her ordeal. Okay, tell me what you know about Condor.
Condor Transglobal exports Aztec and Mayan relics from Central America to Europe. But that's just a cover for the real business. Drug smuggling.
What proof do you have?
Nothing yet.
Do you know where Condor is based?
In Central America. A place called Quaramonte.
I saw that name on a docket downstairs. Tell me about this Karzak guy.
Well, I saw him for only a few minutes, but he frightens me. I got the impression that Pablo was nervous when he was around too. His eyes. They're like a wild animal's, like a tiger. That's what scared me most about him. He looked so unpredictable and dangerous.
Did you know Oubier's wife was a film star?
No, I didn't know he was married. What happened to her?
She died. In mysterious circumstances, apparently.
How mysterious.
I heard she was murdered. Possibly by Oubier himself.
A murderer, huh? André said he was something of a celebrity.
Did I hear you refer to Inspector Moo?
Yes, you remember him?
Of course I do. But I thought he was dead.
Oh no, he reappeared after the broken sword case had blown over. When he found out who was in with the Neo-Templars, he went into hiding. Moo knew more than was good for him.
Does he know about our involvement with the case?
If he does, he's not telling. Still, he got a sudden promotion.
Did that Indian guy mistreat you?
If you forget about the abduction, verbal threats, and bondage, no.
Well, what about the little guy?
I don't think he knows where he is or what he's doing here. The big guy, Pablo, he brought Titipoco from the jungle.
Titty what?
Titipoco. That's what I heard Pablo call the dwarf.
Do you recognize this?
Is that the dart which knocked me out?
That's right. I kept it as a souvenir. Have you any idea who this little statue is supposed to be?
I'm not very well acquainted with Mayan deities, George. But whatever his name, he sure is ugly.
I found these in your bag.
Oh, they were a gift.
I know. I read the note.
God knows what was going through André's mind.
I think that's quite plain enough. Look, the little guy downstairs was chained up with these.
That must have been Pablo's doing. I don't blame him, though. That little guy is dangerous.
You're still sore about that poisoned dart?
Of course I'm sore.
Hopefully, the tape would prevent those doors from closing and stop the Indian from being able to call the elevator. The pallet rose about 6 inches off the floor, and I said a silent prayer to whoever had discovered the power of hydraulics.
What on earth are you doing?
Trying to raise the statue so I can hook it to that pulley.
Is that really going to help us?
I like to keep myself occupied in times of stress. It was too heavy for me to move on my own. Could you give me a hand to push this statue?
What for?
This, my dear, is our passport to freedom.
If you say so, dear.
Okay, push! Great teamwork.
Nice to be working with you again, Mr. Stobbart.
A cable stretched way out across the docks to a building in the distance. Nico, I have a great idea.
George, where have you been?
Never mind that. Do you have the Mayan stone?
Maybe I have, but,
Don't argue, André. Give the stone to George.
well, of course, if you say so, Nicole.
Thank you so much, André.
George, he told me you'd been kidnapped, my dear. I'm glad to see he was mistaken.
Oh, but it was true. If it hadn't been for George, I wouldn't be here now.
It's not finished yet. Karzak's thugs will be back for that stone, you can bet. The best lead that we have is Coromante City.
Coromonte is in Central America. That's where Ubier gets his artifacts.
That's all we needed to know. Come on, George.
Quaramonte, the traveler's rear entrance to Central America. Well, that's how it was translated in the brochure. We didn't know what we were looking for, but the offices of Condor Transglobal seemed a good place to start.
Hey, it's market day. I don't see any cabs. Let's ask someone how to get to Quaramonte City.
Okay. Keep your eyes peeled for any sign of Condor Transglobal.